I'm Terry, and this is Tea with Terry, where we talk about thoughts, emotions, and actions. And today we're going to dive into an action that involves a few props. So bear with me as I share this with you. So, when we are making a change, and this can be around alcohol or any habit, it's super important to reinforce the win in your brain. And so we know that small celebrations, you can snap, you can give yourself a high five, you can, dance around the kitchen and say yay, you can wave some pom poms. One option that I want to share with you that has been really effective for lots of my clients, and it's not a new idea. So I think you're going to recognize it, but let's revisit it in terms of making a change around a habit you're trying to reinforce. And we'll just take drinking, for example. So I want you to get a glass, jar, bowl, vase. This is just a little tiny mason jar. You can start with something small, you can do something bigger. And we're going to call this our win jar. And so the purpose of a win jar is to track our wins. And, we all have different levels of learning. Some of us are kinesthetic learners, some of us are verbal learners, some of us are visual learners. And so the idea of a win jar is that we get to track our wins, and we also get to reinforce through lots of different modalities of learning these wins. So the idea of a win jar is that when you have success in whatever habit you're trying to change or create or reinforce, you're going to put something in the win jar so that eventually it fills up. And as you are making this change, you're going to be able to track and see this. So let's say, for example, that I am considering, I am not drinking and I've been, struggling with going out with friends. And so I go out with friends and I successfully order a non-alcoholic beverage. I have a great time. And I come home from my event and I put a stone in the jar. So now I've started my win jar, and I want to put this in a place where you're going to walk by it on a regular basis. Maybe it's in your bathroom, maybe it's on your hall table where you put your car keys, maybe it's by your phone charging station, whatever works for you. And as you are building this new habit and it's going well, you're going to put a stone. In this case, I'm using stones. My husband has a beautiful rock collection. So imagine that you are noticing that you're winning and that the jar is filling up. How beautiful this will be when you have many, many stones, beads. You can use lots of different things in your jar, and you're walking by and you're saying, oh yeah, I've been having a hard time today, but look, this is reminding me that I'm winning, that it's going well. So a couple of things about the win jar. First of all, you don't have to use stones, although since my husband does polish rocks, I love to use these beautiful stones. Excuse me. And you can also use shells. Maybe you have a little collection of shells that you could put in the win jar. You could use a more of a flat bowl, but have something where you can see your wins stacking up and creating this visual reminder of how well you're doing. Another idea is you can use a little love note. On this one, I just wrote love note, but imagine that you write down your win. Went out to dinner, didn't crave wine. And then you fold it up and you can put that in the jar. And then you can see as your jar fills up with little love notes, that could be also a very powerful way to reinforce this habit or this new routine. And again, we want to do this because it's so important for our brain to have this visual reminder of you winning. Now, there's a little twist that a client shared that has to do with this urge jar, win jar, and also has to do with setting an intention. So I love this idea. So let's say you have been putting your stones, pennies, shells, notes in the jar, and maybe you have a blip in your habit that you're trying to reinforce, or you haven't had a straight win for a while. My friend introduced the idea of the waiting room. So the waiting room is just what it sounds like, but it is this beautiful idea of setting an intention and then winning. So imagine this, you set an intention at the beginning of the day. Today is going to be a no drinking day. And then you choose your symbol, be it a stone or a shell or a note, and you put it in the waiting room. So you move this stone out of the dish, maybe where all your stones are, or whatever you have set aside where you're grabbing this win from, and you put it near the jar. So now it's waiting to move into the jar, and you can walk by and see it that day and remind yourself of the intention. And you can be cheering yourself and this little stone on, like, oh, I cannot wait till the end of the day when you get to move from the waiting room into the win jar. So let me know if you try this, if you try the win jar, if you try the waiting room. And again, it's a beautiful but simple concept of how we reinforce what we want to happen. We can do it visually, holding the stone, setting that intention. Kinesthetically, it helps our brain. We're physically moving the stone from one place to another. It's a great little hack to help you in any habit you're trying to reinforce. All right, that's T for Terry today. I'll see you next week.